Mark Tempest confronted Amanda in the vestry. There was no pity in his thin smile. He seized her brutally by the wrist. "I must arrange these flowers," but the words were stifled on her lips by a fierce kiss. Outside, she could hear her husband leading the choir in evensong, while the organ swelled in a great crescendo of sound. And all the time, she was aware of the roses being crushed against her bare skin and Mark's sardonic sneer. "Harold Robbins, eat your heart out." Her head began to swim. She caught the tang of his aftershave and felt his rough hands rasp against her nylons as they slid beneath the vestry table. Hello, Trevor.
Howard?
Now, I expect you wonder what I was doing.
No, you were talking to yourself.
Not exactly. I was working on this scene from my book.
Yeah, the book.
Something wrong, Trevor?
I've just been in the kitchen, Howard. Mary is peeling her way through a mound of potatoes. She looks absolutely worn out.
Ah, you've noticed it too, have you, Trevor? She should see a doctor. Tell me to shut up if you like, but I think she's been overdoing things.
Well, of course she's overdoing things. She's cooking for 3 now. There's more work in the kitchen, more work in here. I mean, look at this mess. Something's got to be done, Howard.
You're right, Trevor. You've been thinking what I've been thinking. 2 minds, but a single thought. A cleaning lady.
I was not thinking about a cleaning lady, Howard. It wouldn't hurt you to help peel the potatoes. How long is it going to take to write this book?
No, not long. I've already completed the first chapter, and I've given it Mary to read.
Yes, I know. She showed it to me.
What? You mean you've read it?
Yes.
Well, what did you think? I mean, what's your opinion? Oh, come on, I need good, honest criticism after all. You're the public.
Well, to be absolutely truthful, I thought it was a load of unmitigated rubbish.
You didn't like it?
I hated it.
I see.
Well, you asked me what I thought of it.
I asked you what you thought. I didn't expect you to throw hand grenades. I might have anticipated that attitude from someone like you, someone who can't even read without moving their lips. Someone whose idea of a good read is The Corpse Who Wouldn't Lie Down by Quincy Brown.
I happen to like a good thriller.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't write thrillers. I deal in reality.
Ha, reality. What, when Mark Tempest grabs Amanda Merridew while she's potting geraniums?
What's wrong with that?
When he takes her, and the sun cascades in 1,000 stars, and the geranium petals float down onto her startled eyes.
It's all perfectly possible.
Not with her husband outside mowing the lawn, it isn't. They were in the greenhouse, Howard. You could see them through the glass. Who dare do a thing like that?
Mark Tempest would dare anything.
Mark Tempest is about as real as his name.
Mark Tempest happens to be based on a real character.
Who?
You're looking at him.
You? No wonder I didn't like it.
All right. That's your opinion, is it, Trevor? Well, I think you're going to find yourself in a minority of one. Mary! Mary! Would you come in here, please? I wanted to hear what Mary thinks of it.
Yes, Howard.
Now then, Mary, would you tell Trevor what you thought of that first chapter? Now, come on, say what you think. Don't worry about me. I can take genuine criticism, well.
I enjoyed it.
Did you hear that, Trevor? From your own wife's lips, she enjoyed it. Now, that's the public. That's the discerning reader. She enjoyed it.
Yes, I thought it was very funny.
Funny? What do you mean, funny? You mean when Amanda Merridew was seduced while her husband mows the lawn? Aren't you forgetting something? She's the vicar's wife. The vicar who, when he hears of his wife's infidelity, goes to his church tower and hangs himself by his own bell rope. And across the green they hear the muffled, reproachful ding-dong, ding-dong. You find that funny?
It must have been the way you wrote it, Howard.
Well, all I can say is it doesn't take much to amuse you, Mary. I had tears in my eyes when I wrote that scene. I had to break off for a good weep. I'm disappointed.
Well, you did ask for criticism.
Criticism? You know what criticism did to Keats? He went into a depression and died of consumption.
I'm sorry, Howard.
Sorry? You lacerate me with these comments about something that took a whole afternoon to write, and you say that you're sorry? I think you'd better get back to peeling the potatoes, Mary.
I hope we didn't hurt his feelings.
We had to tell him the truth, Mary. He'll never be a writer. He hasn't got the talent.
Well, he's only just started, Trevor. You can't expect him to be good at it straight away. When he was young, he always had a vivid imagination. Talk about flights of fancy. He once persuaded our cousins they were fairies, and they flew straight out of the bedroom window.
Mary, don't you see, writing is just an excuse for lounging around the house all day. And there's another thing, the toothpaste. He squeezes it at the wrong end. Comes out at the bottom and all over your wrist.
Trevor, isn't this all rather trivial?
Is it? And what about our more intimate moments? We're never alone these days, Mary. Our bed creaked last night and he banged on the wall. No, I made up my mind. He's got to go.
But Trevor...
Look, we agreed he could stay until he made a success of his writing. Well, the way he's going is going to be the middle of the 21st century. My God, ding-dong, ding-dong. No, he's got no talent, and I'll have to tell him.
I suppose you're right. Look, do you want to give this back to him?
No. Wrap the potato peelings in it. Do you mind if I have a word, Howard?
As long as you don't disturb my literary flow, Trev.
What literary flow? It's not working out, is it?
Isn't it?
There are shadows under Mary's eyes. She's never been strong, Howard. And last night I found her sitting in the dark weeping.
Well, that's because she's depressed. Why don't you take her out for a change? Take her to bingo.
We don't go to bingo, Howard. Now, we agreed that you could stay here until we found out whether you had any talent for writing. Well, now we know.
But it's early days yet, Trev.
No, Howard, you are deceiving yourself. Now, I suggest you move to an area of full employment and get yourself a proper job. Mary agrees with me.
Howard.
Yes, Mary?
It's beautiful.
What is?
The poem. Howard scribbled it on the back of the manuscript.
Oh, that old thing.
Listen to this, Trevor. So we'll go no more a-roving so late into the night, though the heart be still as loving and the moon be still as bright. Isn't that beautiful?
You mean you really liked it?
Liked it? It's superb. I always knew you were capable of great things, Howard. Don't you think it's beautiful, Trevor?
Well, yes, it's all right. There's not much of it, is there?
Oh, there's more. For the sword outwears its sheath, and the soul wears out the breast, and the heart must pause to breathe, and love itself have rest. Isn't that moving?
It sounds familiar somehow.
Of course it sounds familiar, Trev. That's the art of good poetry. It echoes something within your own soul, a feeling forever shared and yet forever your own. The sword outwears its sheath. Now, don't you sometimes feel that your sword's outworn its sheath, Trevor?
No, certainly not.
But you must admit it's very good.
Well, yes, I suppose so.
Oh, do you think so? Well, perhaps I've found something at last, something deep within myself that was always bursting to get out. The real me.
I think you were inspired, Howard.
I think you're right, Mary.
You could write like that because you're deeply in love with Laura.
What do you mean, deeply in love?
Yes, love has always been the inspiration for the poet.
What are you talking
Now,
about?
you stay here and work, Howard. We'll get the dinner.
So
What?
we'll go, no more roving. So late in...
Just because he's written some poetry, I don't see why he can't help with the dinner.
But don't you understand? He has real talent. Oh, I'm so proud. My own brother. We must nurture it.
We must what?
We must foster his genius until he's ready to share it with the world. It's our duty.
Yes, but for how long? We'll go no more a-roving. You don't think he's trying to tell us something, do you?
What?
He's going to stay here forever.
Of course not. That poem's dedicated to Laura. He's trying to tell her that he wants to settle down, that he's serious about her.
She won't fall for that. She's got much too much sense.
That's what you think. She's invited him round for drinks
What?
tonight.
We've got to stop it, Mary.
Why should we?
Laura Miles still has influence in this town. Remember, he's already had a slice of her money through early investments. Now he's coming back for the rest. Pick the bones clean.
No, this is different. He's in love.
Well, that's what he always says. Isn't that what he told all the others?
Well, just because he's been engaged a few times.
Engaged a few times. I think he had that ring on a piece of string. Amazing the way he always got it back. You remember the famous engagement ring, Mary? The pigeon ruby with homing instincts?
Why do you have to be so hard on my brother? I know he's made mistakes, but he's changed. All that's behind him now. I think what we're seeing is a late flowering.
A late flowering? Mary, he is not a bloody tulip. Excuse me, Howard. Do you mind if I say something about tonight?
Not tonight.
Laura had a very happy marriage. John Miles was a very gentle person, churchwarden, Rotary, good living. So you see, she has led quite a sheltered life. Well, now she's starting to pick up the pieces. It wouldn't do to rush things.
What are you trying to say, Trev?
Well, you may be Mark Tempest, but she's not Amanda Merridew. I mean, we don't want rough hands rasping her nylons.
What sort of a man do you take me for, Trevor? All right, so she's fascinated by me, but most women are by writers.
Yes, well, all right, Howard, but just remember she does have friends in this town, and we don't want them to think you're after her money.
Money? Is there much money?
Well, house itself is worth over 100,000.
Over 100,000? Must be a huge mortgage.
No. John Miles was quite rich. They say he left her about $250,000. What was that?
That was me, Trevor. I'm distressed. You're taking a perfectly innocent relationship and turning it into something cheap and nasty.
No, I'm sorry, Howard. I didn't mean to do that.
I may be many things, Trevor, but I'm not a fortune hunter.
No, of course not, Howard. I'm sorry.
Then I drew the mosquito nets aside, and there was the dreaded hooded cobra, the most deadly of all snakes, dead on the rug. And beside it, my faithful mongoose smiling up at me.
I didn't know mongooses smiled.
This one did. I swear it was smiling, Laura, as if to say, sleep on, gentle master. And you know what was more unusual? It was the same mongoose I'd befriended 6 months earlier in Delhi. You know that animal had followed me over 1,000 miles?
He must have been very fond of you.
He was devoted. But that's enough about me. I don't want to bore you.
I'm not bored, Howard. It's been a wonderful evening.
Yes, hasn't it? Of course, we could have gone out, taken in a show, had dinner and champagne, but we didn't want that sort of evening.
Didn't we?
No. No, I didn't want to share you. I wanted you to myself. I wanted to enjoy the pleasures of an evening at home. Do you know, that puts me in mind of something that I wrote this morning. So we'll go no more a-roving so late into the night, though the heart be still as loving and the moon be still as bright.
For the sword outwears its sheath, and the soul wears out the breast, and the heart must pause to breathe, and love itself have rest.
Yeah. You know it too.
Yes, I love Byron.
So do I. That's why I copied it out. I knew it would appeal to you. Of course, Byron and I have a lot in common. Soldier, poet, lover.
Think perhaps I'd better get the coffee. What are you staring at, Howard? Is something the matter?
No, I was just admiring your earrings, Laura. What exquisite settings.
Oh, I didn't know you were interested in jewellery, Howard.
Oh, yes. You know, I have something that may interest you, Laura. It's a pigeon ruby. You don't see many of those, do you?
It's beautiful.
No, I want you to keep it. Look, I know this is rather sudden, but I want you to wear that ring. It was my mother's. And I promised her I'd never give it to another unless it was to the woman of my choice. Laura, I want you to share the rest of my life with me.
Oh. Well, I'm very flattered, Howard, but I've been married very happily, and
I know
don't
how you
think
feel. I know how you feel. What's he thinking? Up there. Well, I'm sure he's looking fondly down and saying, bless you, my children. Glad you found someone to protect you.
Oh, I don't know, Howard. John was always worried I might marry again too hastily. He left me well provided for, big house, investments. He was always anxious someone might take advantage of me.
Advantage?
Well, it does happen, Howard. Oh, I didn't mean you.
One moment, Laura. You mean this house is yours? You own the freehold?
Yes, of course.
You mean it isn't heavily mortgaged and you're not living desperately on your capital?
No, I've quite considerable reserves.
Considerable reserves? I'm sorry, Laura, but this changes everything. I want you to forget everything that I said.
I don't understand.
Tongues wag, Laura. Howard Booth may not be much, but I've always earned my living by the sweat of my own brow. I won't have people saying that I married a woman for her money.
But how?
I'm sorry, Laura, but I must formally withdraw my proposal of marriage and bid you good night.
Howard.
Oh, Laura.
I'm sorry if I offended you. I didn't mean that.
Yes, I'm sorry too, Laura. I didn't want anything to come between us, but I can't stop thinking about that money. Oh, God. Why can't I treat you like an ordinary person? Money can be such a curse, Laura.
I know. I sometimes feel like giving it all away.
No, don't do that. It's something you've got to live with. You can't opt out.
But look how suspicious it's made me. After losing that money with Erling Investments, I suspect everyone. Even you, Howard.
Me?
Yes. You said you were a writer. Well, I've checked with all the bookshops, and I couldn't find anything written by Howard Booth.
Ah. You assume that I was writing under my own name?
What do you mean?
No, I was using a pseudonym.
What pseudonym? The Corpse That Wouldn't Lie Down by Quincy Brown. You're Quincy Brown?
Shh! I don't want anyone to know that. It's a closely guarded secret in the publishing world.
But why? Quincy Brown's a master of detective fiction, and the books are very well written.
Garbage, Laura. Well-written garbage, I agree, but garbage nevertheless. Now, if I'm to be taken seriously as a writer, no one must know that I'm supposed to be responsible for these pot boilers. That's why I don't want you to breathe a word to a living soul.
But I think it's wonderful.
You're so impressionable, Laura. Why is it that women find writers so glamorous?
I'm sorry I was so suspicious of you, Howard.
Don't say another word. Now, we were going to have coffee. Allow me to make it for you.
Oh, it's you, Laura. Well, that's a relief. I thought he was talking to himself again. What happened? Don't tell me you had to walk him home.
No, we had a misunderstanding, and I came round to...
Don't say another word, Laura. I understand perfectly. Rough hands rasping on nylons, eh?
Wasn't like that. We had a lovely evening.
Did you really? I mean, was it all right?
Yes. He told me all about himself.
What?
The big secret.
The big secret. What exactly did he say, Laura?
Only that he's the master of intrigue and suspense.
Well, all I can say is it's a complete surprise to me, Laura. If I had known Master of what?
Intrigue and suspense. And he's so good at it. Oh, you wouldn't think to look at him. He must have a criminal mind. All that felony and murder.
Murder? He hasn't gone that far, has he, Laura?
Remember the body in the trunk on the Brighton line?
No, he wasn't responsible for that. Was he? I mean, I wouldn't have given him refuge if I'd known, Laura.
You must be so proud of him.
What?
Well, it was the perfect crime.
Well, I suppose everybody's good at something. You admire that sort of thing, do you, Laura?
You can stop shielding him, Trevor.
I'm not shielding him. I'd be quite happy to make a statement.
He's
I'll go to the police.
confessed. No need to cover up. I know he's Quincy Brown.
Quincy Brown? Is that what he told you? Oh, that's what you were talking about. He's not Quincy Brown. Quincy Brown is my favourite author.
Then he hasn't told you either?
There's nothing to tell. Look, Quincy Brown died in 1973. Now, I know Howard's looking pale, but he doesn't look as if he died in 1973.
But I don't understand.
Well, there's a photograph of the author at the back. There you are. Now, does he look like Quincy Brown? I mean, forget the tweed skirt and the floppy hat.
Quincy Brown's a woman.
Well, unless it's Howard in fancy dress, yes.
You mean he's lied to me?
No, don't take it too hard, please, Laura. It was all those years he spent in the tropics. A coconut fell on his head or something, I don't know. He'll say anything. He's unreliable. It's just a cross we have to bear.
I see. May I have that book?
No, if you're going to hit him with it. I've got an encyclopedia over there.
That won't be necessary.
Be long now, Laura.
Howard, I know you'll think I'm silly, but I've never met a real live author before. Do you think I could have your autograph?
Autograph? Well, is that really necessary? I mean, don't let my fame come between us. Try and treat me like an ordinary person.
Oh, please, Howard. As a personal favour to me, just sign from Quincy Brown with love.
Well, I don't think I've got a pen.
Oh, I'm sure you'll be able to find one. You're a writer.
I think the coffee's boiling.
You know, it's remarkable how much you've changed, Howard.
Changed?
I heard that Quincy Brown took to writing at an early age due to an almost pathological shyness.
Oh, well, one gets over these things.
Due to a pronounced squint and a stammer.
Well, I have managed to conquer it pretty well, Laura. It only reveals itself when I'm under pressure.
Are you under pressure now, Howard?
No. It must have been all that time in Africa, you know. That's what cured me. All that exercise and fresh air.
Yes, I must say you look tremendously fit for someone who died in 1973.
Ah. You've heard that old story, have you?
What do you mean?
Yes. I died in 1973. But has anyone seen the grave? Let us just say that the reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. I did it so that I could put behind me this tawdry career in fiction and concentrate on higher things.
Oh.
So, where would you like me to sign?
What about just here, across your photograph?
Yes. Still using the old photograph, I see. It pulled you to it, didn't it, Laura? Yes, that's Bertha Dalrymple, hired by my agent to pose for this photograph so I could preserve my anonymity. Do you know, I've always considered it money well spent. It's allowed me to move like a fish through the currents of life. Observing, listening, unidentified, unknown. Rather like Graham Greene.
That's incredible.
Laura, you have that doubting look again. Will it always be like this? Do I have to continually prove myself to you?
Well, I'm sorry, Howard, but you must admit it does seem rather strange.
Laura, look at me. Do I look the sort of man that would take another's name, steal his work, and say it was my own? Shame on you, Laura.
I'm sorry, Howard.
Oh, ye of little faith.
There you are. Did you have a nice evening?
Well, eventful.
Have you shown her your poem yet, Howard?
No, not yet.
What poem?
Oh, she doesn't want to hear that whole thing.
Oh, but it was beautiful. How does it go? So we'll go
Look,
no
what
more
about some
till late into
biscuits?
the night. Though the heart be still as
Why don't we
loving,
take the
moon
coffee through to the
still as
lounge?
bright. For the sword outwears its
Oh,
sheath.
shut up, Mary!
So, you wrote that, did you? You phony.
Good heavens, what's the matter with Laura?
Just not a poetry lover, I'm afraid. No.